Okay, so welcome back to our last session today before the raffle. And I'm happy to welcome on stage my colleagues, Clara and Julian from Seibert Media. And they will talk about their journey from joining Atlassian's AppWeek in February this year and releasing a finished product just a few weeks later. So, Clara, Julian, the stage is yours.
Thank you. Yeah, Lisa already said it. A few weeks ago, we both traveled to Berlin with our colleague Jonathan to see what the news are for the Atlassian developer community. You can see on the other picture, this was the event location. It was pretty cold. It was snowing. We were all freezing, but we had a fun time. And something that Atlassian announced at the event was a new API called Embedded Pages for Confluence. And this is what we use for our new app, Spacecraft, and this is what we want to talk about today in this talk. Basically, the new API, Embedded Pages for Confluence, allows us or allows developers to natively and seamlessly integrate Confluence pages into third-party products, into Jira, into JSM. And so it's really easy to share your already designed, themed content in Confluence externally with non-Confluence users. So the new thing about that is the full macro support that the API offers. So basically, all the macros that you're using in Confluence, for example, in our case, we're using a lot of Karma, Aura, or Droyo, is also available in the integration. And we thought about all the problems we could solve with this, or what we would have done differently in the past if we had that API before, for example, with Linchpin Hey. But for those of you who've seen the Mantra demo this morning, this is also another app where we use the API. But today we're going to talk about Spacecraft. And there we go. So what is Spacecraft? Basically, it's an app for Confluence Cloud that makes it possible for you to easily share one Confluence space, one public Confluence space with a customized theme, as you can see here in the pictures, with a vast majority of macros being supported. And what can you use that for? It could be a company website, for example. So instead of using a content management system, you can just use Spacecraft. Or you can use it for knowledge base, for release notes, for how-to articles, for app documentation. So there's a lot of possibilities where you can use it. And for this talk, we've created a use case, our partner info session website. So I set up our website for this event with a content management system. It was a pain in the ass. And nothing worked. In most cases, you have the content already in Confluence. So you have a page design with the agenda, with everything that you want to share. And then you have to do it again in a different content management system to share it with your audience. In most cases, this will be completely enough to do that this way. And Julian is going to talk a bit more about how we did it, how we got there, and then demo the website in the end. All right.
Yeah, sure. Hi, I'm Julian. I'm on the stage because I built this app during the last weeks together with my team. And yeah, like Clara just told us, you are able to build quite fancy websites with Spacecraft. But I also want to talk with you about what shortcuts we took to make this happen in about 3 weeks. So yeah, what shortcuts to take building an app in 3 weeks? The first thing you have to do building an Atlassian app is a platform choice. You probably know you can use Atlassian Connect or Atlassian Forge. And I know it's kind of a difficult topic among developers whether Forge is mature enough to build huge apps on top of it. But for us, Forge really did the trick because it takes 2 minutes to set up a new app, and you can really focus on developing features. Yeah, so we took Forge, and the next trick we made use of is to make Spacecraft really easy. We don't have a configuration at all, only a very small configuration I will show you in a minute, but we don't have a configuration for even for really important features, like the navigation you see in that green box. I mean, those items are pages, and you can click on them, and the content will change, obviously. But we don't offer a configuration where you can drag and drop that stuff, because that takes some time to build that. We just implemented a background function that synchronizes the actual space tree and the hierarchy within Confluence with Spacecraft. So when you move spaces, or if you move pages along the space tree, Spacecraft will automatically update this navigation here. So there's no configuration for this. We just take the content and the hierarchy from Confluence. So same goes for the image upload. You can specify your own logo and the background image. We didn't want to build an upload for that because Forge still lacks possibility to upload binary data like images. And so you can set those images by using page attachments. You can upload images to pages like you would when you're using Confluence, and then you can just use the links you get for those attachments. So we also skip this task to build an infrastructure for scaling and cropping images. The topic Simon was talking about a few minutes ago, the app name. You need a name for an app. We just asked ChatGPT, don't tell anyone, but I typed in something like, I've built an app for Confluence Cloud and it's about spaces, and ChatGPT's response was, use Spacecraft. Then I looked it up in the marketplace, and nobody had this idea before, so we were good to go after 2 minutes. And the next funny topic is the documentation of Spacecraft. We built it with Spacecraft, which was easy because we had all that content in Confluence anyway, and it's also quite a good demo of the product itself with its own documentation. You can open that link. It should work even on your mobile, and you will see the documentation of the app. Now it's time for a demo. I think we don't have that much time, but it will be sufficient for the most basic features. Here is a Confluence instance. You all know that. And when you have Spacecraft installed, you will see that button on the very left. Yeah, you can see it here, where my mouse is. And when you click on that, you will come to the Spacecraft configuration. It's quite simple. You can configure what the Spacecraft page should look like. You can, for example, decide that the navigation shouldn't be on the left-hand side, but on the right-hand side. You can click here, then it will reload, and you will get a preview on the right side. And as you probably would have expected, you can also change the colors and the widths of some content items. We won't get too much into detail here, but already with those configuration options, you can build websites that look quite nice. One feature I wanted to show you is the domain feature. I'm quite proud that we have been able to implement that in just a few days. I can probably zoom in a little bit here. Every space you style with Spacecraft gets its unique domain, which is Confluence Web App, and then / some stuff, which is unique for your space. But you can also set up your own domain, which then ends with wikipage.io. You can, for example, info session was a good idea. We could take partner info session, for example. .wikipage.io, you can't change that right now, and then you click on Save Subdomain, and now zoom out a little bit, and after a few seconds, your partner info session.wikipage.io is ready to use. So I have to zoom out again. No. And after a few seconds, you see the website is live, and that is what I was talking about. I'm quite proud that we implemented that in a few days, because setting up subdomains dynamically, it's a tedious task. But it works out quite well with our new domain, wikipage.io. That's it for the demo part, I guess. The app is free, by the way. You can just install it and try it out. if you want, and you can, you should, because right now the most subdomains are still available, so you can secure your very own subdomain. Yeah, now let's come to this part of the presentation, our first customers. I think the app is now in the marketplace for 10 days or so, and we already have 50 to 60 customers. And as those pages are public, we can look what customers we have and what we actually have. For example, we have this PrimeDocs, which is a German company that uses Spacecraft to show to style their documentation of their whatever Microsoft products. It's a public documentation of some Microsoft stuff. And my favorite customer is this one. It's the Eberswalder Tennis Club, which is a local tennis club. We don't know them, but they are using Spacecraft to show members of their tennis club the rules for booking the tennis court. We don't know them, but we find it funny that they're using Confluence for their stuff, and they're using Spacecraft. I really like that. And they changed their theme. Now there are tennis balls in the background. You should check it out. Okay, so last thing to tell you is what is next. So as I told you before, we took some shortcuts here and there to make this happen really, really fast. So the next features we are up to develop might be kind of boring, but they are important to make this like a major app. First of all, granular permissions. Right now, every user that has access to the space can configure the colors. This is okay to start with, but we will have some granular permissions to restrict that to space administrators and so on. We also will offer an image upload, an actual image upload, so that you can crop and scale the image to your needs, like you know it from other platforms, but this is like a tedious task. We will build that in a few weeks. Next step will be, we will have a customizable navigation so that you can also have like call to action buttons in the header and stuff. We'll figure that out. And the last thing here on the slide is that we want to unlock Spacecraft also for private spaces. Right now, you should use it for public spaces that are available in the internet. We restricted the use case of Spacecraft to that because Atlassian told us in Berlin that they are using third-party cookies for their embedded pages API. So the browser support would be quite poor if you use this for private spaces. But they announced, I think 3 days ago, it was last week, that they switched from third-party cookies to the session storage. So it should be possible to unlock those features for private spaces so that you can use it for your team space or whatsoever. Yeah, so we will figure that out in a bit. And that was Spacecraft. Thank you for being with us.